Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. At night, when the body sinks into stillness, the brain begins its secret work. From the outside, it may seem like nothing is happening, as though the mind has surrendered to silence. But within the folds of its valleys and ridges, rivers of activity continue to flow. The brain, even in the softest sleep, never fully rests. It hums like a distant ocean, waves rolling inward and outward, carrying with them fragments of memory, whispers of thought, and the slow rhythm of breath. If you could place your ear against it, you might imagine hearing the hush of a hidden tide, ceaseless and eternal. Scientists once believed that sleep was a shutting down, a dimming of the switch, a blackout curtain pulled across consciousness. Yet as they peered deeper, they discovered that sleep was not an emptiness but a dance. The brain pulses with electrical storms, flickering like stars over a darkened landscape. Neurons fire in gentle bursts, sending signals along their pathways as though rehearsing for the day to come. Dreams rise from these quiet sparks, stories without scripts, woven out of fragments of memory and imagination. The night, then, is not a desert of stillness, but a meadow of subtle motion. Imagine drifting across a wide river beneath the moon. The water looks calm, but beneath its surface currents swirl, eddies twist, and hidden movements shape the flow. So too does the brain at night. While your muscles soften and your heartbeat slows, deep inside the skull networks of neurons whisper to one another, reminding, rehearsing, repairing. The quiet body becomes a stage for the restless performance of the mind. What seems like rest is in truth a secret labour, as delicate as spider silk and as vast as the sky. Sleep carries us through cycles, and in each one the brain reshapes itself. In the beginning of the night, waves of slow oscillations wash across the cortex like gentle tides on a beach. These slow waves sweep memories from the day, brushing them into deeper storage as though a librarian were tucking books back onto their shelves. As you drift further into slumber, rapid eye movement, or REM, emerges like a storm after calm waters. The brain in REM burns as brightly as it does when awake, flickering with dreams that feel alive and urgent. This rhythm, slow wave followed by REM, followed again by slow, creates the pulse of night, a heartbeat made of hidden thought. Why does the brain remain awake inside our sleep? Perhaps because life itself is never still. Every living cell depends on rhythm and renewal, on cycles of cleaning and repair. In the dark hours, the brain flushes away waste through rivers of cerebrospinal fluid, a cleansing stream that washes between its cells. This hidden housekeeping protects us from harm, ensuring that thought remains clear when morning arrives. To imagine the brain at night is to imagine a city that looks quiet from a distance but whose streets still thrum with workers sweeping, repairing, tending lamps, preparing for dawn. The poets of science speak of dreams as rehearsals. During REM, neural circuits replay the music of the day, strengthening the connections that matter most. If you practiced a melody or traced new words on a page, the brain will echo those patterns again at night. It hums them softly, embedding them like seeds in soil. Dreams become gardens where memory takes root. Some scientists even believe that dreaming helps us solve puzzles, weaving answers into narratives while we wander through impossible landscapes. A mind that never truly sleeps is also a mind that learns while the body lies still. Consider also the animals around us, each carrying their own nocturnal mysteries. The dolphin rests one half of its brain at a time, letting the other half remain awake to surface for air. Birds in migration close only one eye at a time, seeping in flight while still steering toward the horizon. Even within us, echoes of these strategies linger, as if nature never allowed the brain to fully abandon its watch. Sleep is not the extinguishing of thought, but its transformation, a reshaping into forms the waking mind cannot quite grasp. Now imagine lying in the dark, eyes closed, and yet beneath that stillness your brain flickers with electricity. Each neuron is like a tiny lantern glowing for the briefest instant, then passing its light to the next. Together they form a constellation inside the skull, a shifting galaxy of thought. This hidden cosmos spins whether you are dreaming, remembering, or simply drifting in the deepest waves of sleep. To say that the brain never sleeps is not to say it never rests, but rather that it carries life's rhythm ceaselessly, always weaving, always flowing. There is comfort in this thought. The brain, faithful and tireless, watches over us even when we surrender ourselves to the dark. It keeps the heart steady, the breath gentle, the blood moving quietly through its paths. It tends to memories, placing the fragile ones into safekeeping. It mends what frays, clears what clutters, prepares us for the morning that will rise again. Sleep then is not an escape but a return, a quiet harbour where the ship of the body anchors, while the crew of the mind continues its hidden work. When we drift into dreams, we may feel lost, but the brain is guiding us carefully through its cycles. It knows when to deepen the silence and when to let the images flare. It knows when to sweep clean the clutter of thoughts, and when to bind together what we have learned. To surrender to sleep is to trust this ancient guardian, this restless river that never ceases to flow. And when we wake, blinking into the light of day, we carry with us the work it has done in secret, the polished memory, the restored strength, the seeds of new ideas waiting quietly to bloom. If the first descent into night is like drifting on a river, then the second journey is like entering a forest, deeper, quieter, yet alive with hidden movements. Sleep is not uniform, not a single blanket of stillness, but a layered landscape where each fold of time carries its own patterns. The brain, in these deeper stages, reveals more of its secret rhythms. Slow waves ripple across the cortex, vast and deliberate, like the swell of tides against ancient shores. These waves are not random. They guide the cleansing flow of fluids, opening channels between cells so waste may be carried away. It is a quiet housekeeping, unseen yet vital, for without it the brain would become cloudy, heavy, burdened by the residue of thought. The system that carries out this nightly cleansing is called the glymphatic system, a name that echoes the glial cells that support neurons and the lymphatic system that cleanses the body. During sleep, these glial cells shrink, making space for rivers of fluid to wash through the brain. Imagine a city at night where the buildings lean back to open the streets, allowing water to rush in and sweep the dust away. That is what happens in your skull as you lie in the dark, unaware. What feels like silence is in truth a great tide of repair, the body granting the brain a chance to reset and renew. Scientists have measured this process and found that during sleep, especially in the slow wave phases, the flow of cleansing fluid increases dramatically. Proteins that might harm the brain if left to accumulate are swept out, including the sticky fragments that in waking life are linked to diseases of memory. This is why sleep feels restorative, not only because the body rests, but because the mind is polished from within. To awaken after such a cleansing is to return with clarity, as though the fog has lifted from a valley and sunlight once again reveals the green beneath. Yet the brain is not only cleaning, it is also weaving. Memories from the day are fragile when first made, shimmering like dew on grass. They need the slow rhythms of sleep to be carried from short-term holding places into the deep vaults of long-term storage. Scientists compare it to transferring notes from a notebook into the bound pages of a library. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep in the brain, plays these memories over again, sending them outward to the cortex. Each replay is like an echo across canyons, strengthening the pathways until the memory can stand on its own. Without this nightly work, the stories of our lives would slip away, dissolving into forgetfulness. It is in this transfer that dreams may find their seeds. Fragments of memory intertwine with imagination, stitched together into tapestries that rarely make sense, yet feel profound. The brain is not merely rewatching the day, it is reshaping it, bending and blending until connections emerge that waking logic might never allow. This is why dreams feel strange, but also strangely meaningful, as if the mind were whispering riddles to itself. Some dreams vanish like smoke, but others linger, carrying with them insights that feel like gifts from another realm. In truth, they are the work of a brain that never stops thinking, even while it sleeps. As the night deepens, the cycles continue. Slow wave sleep flows into REM, then back again, like tides upon a shore. Each cycle is about 90 minutes long, and over the course of a night the balance shifts. Early hours are heavier with deep sleep, while the later hours fill with longer stretches of REM. By dawn, dreams may last nearly an hour. Whole worlds are folding behind closed eyes. The brain does this not for whimsy, but for survival. Dreaming, though mistress, seems to serve purposes of practice, rehearsal, and repair. It is as if the brain knows that to face the waking world it must first wander the shadowed paths of imagination. When scientists place electrodes on the skull and watch the waves of sleep, they see patterns that resemble music. Slow oscillations like bass notes, punctuated by sharp bursts known as spindles, like flares of melody. These spindles are thought to play a role in consolidating learning, binding fragments of memory into more stable forms. To imagine them is to imagine fireflies sparking across a meadow, each one carrying a flash of information from one corner of the brain to another. Together they form a quiet symphony, playing in the darkness while the body lies still. The sleeper is unaware, yet the music shapes who they will be when they awaken. There is also the question of why the brain evolved never to shut down fully. Perhaps it is because life demands vigilance even in its rest. Long ago, our ancestors needed to hear the rustle of danger even as they dreamed. The brain developed layers of sleep that could keep some circuits alert, ready to wake the body if needed. This vigilance still lingers. A parent may sleep through thunder, yet awaken at the faintest whimper of a child. The brain, though resting, listens. It keeps one ear open, one eye half aware, one hand hovering near the boundary of wakefulness. The rivers flow but never cease. In this way, sleep is not absence but transformation. To drift into slow waves is to enter a world of quiet repair. To rise into REM is to wander through the luminous gardens of dream. To move between them is to let the brain guide itself through rhythms that have shaped our species for millennia. We are not shutting down, but shifting into another mode of being, one that carries us gently yet powerfully through the night. The brain never ceases because life itself never ceases. The pulse of neurons is the echo of the heart, the breath of the lungs, the rhythm of the world. And when dawn comes, we are restored not because the brain was silent, but because it never truly stopped singing. By the time the final hours of night arrive, the brain has travelled through countless waves, storms of dreams and seas of silence. Yet its work is not finished. The last cycles of sleep are rich with REM, as though the mind saves its brightest and most vivid rehearsals for the edge of dawn. In these hours, when the body lies most still, the brain seems most alive. Electrodes reveal rhythms that are almost indistinguishable from wakefulness. And yet the sleeper remains locked within a world of images and emotions that arise from the hidden depths of memory. These are the rivers at their fullest flow, sparkling with light before morning breaks. Why does the brain linger so long in dreams as the night ends? Some believe it is practice, a rehearsal for the waking day. The brain runs simulations, weaving together fragments of memory and prediction. It imagines dangers so the body may prepare without facing them in reality. It revisits sorrows and joys, letting the heart rehearse emotions in a safe place behind closed eyes. This theatre of the mind may be one of evolution's most elegant gifts, a stage where life can be lived in miniature before it unfolds in the open air of waking. The brain dreams not out of whimsy, but because dreaming helps us survive. And yet there is mystery, for no matter how deeply scientists probe, they cannot fully explain why the brain insists on dreaming. Perhaps it is not only practice but also poetry. The brain, never fully still, may dream simply because it must create. Like an artist who cannot set down the brush, it paints pictures in the night. These paintings may never be seen again, but they leave impressions. Shadows on the walls of the mind that linger long after the dream dissolves. They colour our moods, inspire our thoughts, and remind us that we are creatures made not only of flesh and neurons, but also of stories. As dawn approaches, another transformation begins. The slow rhythms of night begin to give way to the quickened tempo of waking. Hormones rise, preparing the body for light. Cortisol, the signal of morning, begins to pulse more strongly through the blood. The brain, which has spent the night weaving, polishing and rehearsing, prepares to hand its work to the conscious self. What you call waking up is in truth a changing of the guard. The sleeping brain and the waking brain are not different entities, but two aspects of the same ceaseless river. One fades as the other emerges, yet the current has never stopped. When you open your eyes to morning light, you awaken carrying treasures the night has prepared. Memories have been stored, ready to be recalled. Emotions have been softened, their sharp edges rounded. The clutter of toxins has been washed away. Even creativity has been stirred. For many find that morning brings with it insights that seemed impossible the night before. The brain's nighttime work becomes the foundation upon which the new day is built. You rise, not from nothingness, but from a long unseen labour that has made you ready to meet the world again. This understanding that the brain never truly sleeps offers comfort, for it means that you are never abandoned in the night. Your mind is always with you, always caring for you, always shaping the path ahead. In the darkest hours, while you surrender yourself to stillness, it continues its ancient tasks. It cleans, it remembers, it dreams, it prepares. It is both guardian and storyteller, both engineer and poet. To know this is to know that even in rest, you are alive with hidden movement, alive with currents that flow through every corner of the mind. Consider the timelessness of this pattern. From the first humans who lay beneath the stars to you lying now beneath your roof, the brain has carried out the same endless rhythm. Animals across the earth follow it too. From the smallest bird to the great whales in the sea, each closes its eyes, each drifts into the hidden rivers of sleep, and each brain continues its watch. This ceaselessness connects us, reminding us that we are part of a living world that never truly rests. The forests breathe, the oceans move, the stars burn, and within your skull the neurons glow. To rest is to join this larger rhythm, to take your place in the eternal flow. And so the story of the night rivers of the mind ends where it began, in wonder. We think of sleep as an escape, but it is more truly a transformation. The brain does not cease. It shifts, it bends, it whispers. It carries us across landscapes unseen, strengthens us for what is to come, and washes away what is no longer needed. When you next close your eyes, imagine those rivers flowing quietly within you. Trust that they will carry you safely through the night. And when morning arrives, step into the light knowing that your mind, faithful and tireless, has never truly left your side. Dreams arrive like secret visitors slipping in through the quiet corridors of the mind when the world outside has grown hushed. They do not knock, they do not announce themselves, and yet they come faithfully each night, carrying stories stitched together from fragments of thought and memory. For as long as humans have gazed at the stars, they have wondered why the brain conjures these nightly visions. Are they messages, lessons, or simply illusions? Science, though gentle in its reasoning, now offers glimpses of an answer. Dreams are part of the hidden work that keeps the mind clear, a sweeping away of dust from the shelves of memory. Imagine a room filled with books, each one a story of a day, an hour, or even a fleeting glance. Each evening, when sleep settles in, the librarian of the brain begins to move among these shelves. Dust has gathered during the day, fragments of thoughts left unfinished, images half remembered, emotions too heavy to carry. The librarian does not discard them outright, but reshapes them, weaving some into dreams, letting others fade into synths. Here's to us as a strange and whimsical dream is, beneath the surface, the gentle maintenance of the mind. A clearing, a reordering, a subtle act of preservation. Scientists once thought of dreams as useless, mere flickers of activity without meaning. But as tools of observation grew sharper, they discovered that dreams are linked to the brain's work of memory consolidation. During the night, the hippocampus replays patterns of neural activity from the day, as if rehearsing. A melody practiced on a piano, a face glimpsed in passing, even the quiet weight of a feeling. All of these may appear again in dreams, distorted but familiar. The brain is not trying to entertain us, but to strengthen what matters, to sweep away the excess and polish what must remain. Dreams, then, are both memory and cleansing. Consider how strange dreams often feel. A door opens into a place you have never been, yet somehow know. A friend's voice emerges from a stranger's face. time bends until moments collapse into each other. This strangeness is not chaos but creativity. The brain, unbound by waking logic, tests new combinations. It places memories side by side to see what emerges. Sometimes these experiments yield insight, as when a problem seems suddenly solvable after a night of dreaming. Other times they simply fade, leaving behind only a mood, a colour, a sensation. The dream's work is not always visible, yet its touch remains. Deep within this process lies the balance between what is remembered and what is forgotten. Without forgetting, the mind would be cluttered with every detail, every passing glance, every fragment of a day. Dreams help sift this flood, allowing the essential to sink into long-term memory while the trivial drifts away. Some scientists call this synaptic pruning, where connections between neurons are gently weakened so the more important pathways may grow stronger. Imagine a gardener tending a dense thicket, trimming here, clearing there until light can reach the soil. That is what dreams do in the quiet hours. They prune, they shape, they make space for growth. Dreams also hold an emotional dimension. They take the weight of feelings too heavy for waking life and soften them in symbolic form. A sorrow may return as a shadowy figure, a joy as a sudden flight, a fear as a shifting landscape. The brain rehearses emotions in this safe theatre, allowing them to be processed without harm. Researchers believe this is why dreams can heal, helping us recover from grief or trauma by reshaping the raw edge of memory into gentler forms. The dust that is swept away is not only cognitive but also emotional, giving the heart space to breathe when the morning comes. Now imagine yourself drifting into sleep. Your body sinks, your breath slows, but inside your skull a play begins. The stage is set with fragments of the day, the sound of footsteps on a stair, the scent of bread, the feel of a word left unsaid. Actors emerge, drawn from memory, yet their roles change. A teacher becomes a wanderer, a friend becomes a bird. The plot wanders without destination, and yet beneath the strangeness lies a quiet order. Neurons are firing, pathways are rehearsing, emotions are softening. The dream unfolds as both a story and a cleansing tide, sweeping the mind clear of its dust. Cultures across the world have long treated dreams as messages from beyond, sacred visions to be interpreted. And though science explains them as processes of memory and emotion, there is still poetry in the idea. For what is more mysterious than a brain that writes stories for itself in the dark? Whether we call them messages, rehearsals, or simply the music of the sleeping mind, dreams remain one of the brain's most beautiful gifts. They remind us that even in rest, the mind creates, shapes, and heals. They remind us that we are never still, that thought continues like a river through the night. So when you wake, remembering only fragments, a door that would not open, a sky that burned with colours, a voice that called your name, know that the dream has already done its work. It has swept, it has sorted, it has healed. What lingers is only a trace, like a feather caught on the wind. The real gift lies unseen, deep within the strengthened connections and softened emotions that now shape your waking mind. The dust has been swept away, and in its place clarity waits quietly for the light of morning. The dream is not merely a passing flicker of thought, but a vast architecture built by the brain during its hidden hours. To understand its structure, scientists have looked into the stages of sleep, watching how the body drifts from light slumber into deep, slow waves, and then into the vivid theatre of rapid eye movement. Each stage brings its own kind of dreaming. In the early phases, dreams are often faint and fragmented, like whispers on the edge of hearing. But as the night deepens, REM sleep arrives, and the mind unfurls its grandest spectacles. Eyes dart beneath closed lids, heart rate quickens, and the brain pulses with rhythms as active as waking life. Within this storm of activity, dreams take on their vibrant form, weaving memory, imagination, and emotion into living pictures. One of the most striking discoveries about REM is that it resembles wakefulness more than rest. Neurons fire with intensity, language and vision centers flare, and yet the body remains paralyzed, prevented from acting out the stories it imagines. This strange stillness ensures safety, for without it we would rise and wander, acting out the dream's commands. But the paralysis also gives the brain freedom. It can test emotions, practice movements, rehearse social encounters, all without consequence. A fearful chase in a dream is not punishment but practice. A joyful flight is not escape but rehearsal of imagination itself. The brain is trying again and again to shape resilience out of experience. Researchers studying animals have found similar patterns, and in them lies a clue to the purpose of dreaming. A rat that runs a maze by day will replay the same sequence of neural firing at night, as though retracing its steps. A bird that practices a song will rehearse it again in sleep, the notes flickering silently in its brain. These echoes suggest that dreaming is not idle, but essential for learning. It is the mind's way of securing knowledge, pressing it deeper into the folds of memory until it becomes part of the self. Just as a river polishes stone, dreams smooth the raw fragments of the day into lasting forms. But dreaming does more than polish, it also explores. The strangeness of dreams arises from the brain's willingness to combine fragments in ways waking thought would never allow. A familiar face placed in an impossible landscape, a phrase spoken in a voice not its own, a boundary between times collapsing into a single moment. All of these are experiments. The brain is searching for connections, patterns, meanings that might otherwise remain hidden. From this alchemy of memory and imagination can arise sudden insights. History tells us of scientists and artists who awoke with solutions and visions shaped in dreams. The chemist who saw a serpent devouring its tail and recognized the ring of benzene, the poet who heard lines whispered in slumber, the composer who found melodies in the shadows of night. Dreams are not always logical, but they are fertile. Beyond learning and creativity, dreams also serve the heart. In waking life, emotions can overwhelm, pressing against us with a weight too heavy to bear. Dreams offer a softer rehearsal, a way to revisit fear, sorrow, or joy in a symbolic space. Studies suggest that when we dream, the brain replays emotional experiences but dampens the stress signals tied to them. A painful memory may appear again in altered form, giving the mind a chance to process it without harm. This gentle reframing allows wounds to heal. It is as though the dream sweeps not only the dust of thought, but also the ache of feeling, leaving us lighter when we rise. Cultures across centuries have given dreams sacred meaning. Shamans, prophets, poets, all have turned to dreams as messages from beyond. While science frames them as functions of memory and emotion, the mystery remains, for even if we map their processes, we cannot deny their wonder. What does it mean that the brain creates whole worlds while the body rests? What does it mean that we carry within us the power to imagine vast landscapes, intricate narratives, profound emotions, all while lying still in the dark. To dismiss dreams as accidents is to overlook their quiet majesty. They are not noise but the music, not clutter but cleansing. Now think of the moments upon waking when a dream lingers like mist. You carry the texture of it into the day, the warmth of a smile, the tremor of a chase, the strangeness of an impossible sky. These fragments are reminders that your mind has been working through the night. Even when you cannot recall the details, the work has been done. The dust has been swept, the memories polished, the emotions softened. You rise into daylight not empty but renewed, carrying the invisible gifts of dreams within you. The mind has cleaned its shelves, leaving space for the stories yet to come. This understanding transforms how we view rest. Sleep is not absence and dreams are not illusions. Together they form a process as vital as breath, a hidden cycle that keeps us whole. Each night the brain bends over its work like a patient craftsman, sweeping, weaving, polishing. Dreams are its brushstrokes, its gentle gestures of care. To lie down at night is to place yourself in the hands of this timeless process. You may not see it, you may not remember it, but when you awaken, you carry its work within you. Dreams sweep the dust away so that life can begin anew with each dawn. As the final hours of night unfold, dreams take on a character both fragile and intense. They lengthen in REM, weaving tapestries that feel more vivid than the faint flickers of early slumber. The brain has already polished memories, trimmed unnecessary connections, softened raw emotions, but now it seems to linger in the dream world, stretching its stories into longer arcs. These late dreams often carry a weight that remains after waking, as if they were closer to the surface of consciousness. We may awaken with the impression of having travelled far, spoken with long-lost friends, or faced a truth that was waiting quietly within us. This is the lingering gift of dreams at the edge of dawn. Scientists suggest that these later dreams are especially powerful for emotional healing. During the final cycles of REM, stress-related chemicals in the brain are suppressed, creating a safe stage for replaying difficult experiences. In waking life, fear or sorrow may be overwhelming, but in dreams they can be rehearsed without harm. The brain allows us to revisit what is painful while removing the sting, like returning to a wound after it has begun to heal. This explains why grief sometimes softens after nights filled with dreams of the one who is gone, or why anxieties loosen their grip after being transformed into symbols that make no logical sense but carry emotional truth. Dreams sweep not only the dust of memory but also the heaviness of the heart. Yet not all dreams are gentle. Nightmares come like storms, rattling the stillness with fear. Even here, however, lies a strange purpose. Some researchers believe nightmares prepare us for survival, allowing us to practice responses to danger in a safe realm. Others think they are signals of unresolved stress, demanding the attention of the conscious mind. Whatever their cause, they are part of the sweeping process, for even the storms stir the dust, preventing it from settling too heavily upon us. And often, once faced, nightmares recede, leaving the waking mind stronger, lighter, more resilient. The poetry of dreams cannot be measured in data alone. Though science explains their patterns, the experience itself remains mysterious. We drift into landscapes that have never existed. We speak words we never planned. We meet figures both strange and familiar. These stories dissolve in the morning light, and yet their echoes guide us. Dreams teach us that the mind is not bound by the walls of logic, that it is capable of infinite creation, they remind us that within our skulls lies not only memory but imagination, a fountain that never ceases to flow. To dream is to glimpse the boundless creativity of the human spirit. Across cultures, people have sought meaning in this nightly theatre. Ancient Egyptians saw dreams as messages from the gods. The Greeks built temples where dreamers sought healing through visions. Indigenous traditions carried wisdom through dream stories, teaching lessons and guiding choices. Even today, we find ourselves asking what a dream means, as though the symbols must carry some secret truth. And perhaps they do, for even if the images are shaped by neurons, the emotions they stir are real. A dream may not predict the future, but it can reveal the present. What weighs upon us, what we long for, what we fear. In this way, the dream remains both science and mystery, both cleansing and storytelling. When dawn finally comes, the dreams dissolve like mist in sunlight. The details scatter, but the work is complete. The brain has sorted, polished, swept. What remains is clarity, memories stored, emotions softened, creativity stirred. We rise feeling lighter, though we may not know why. The dust that once clouded the shelves of the mind has been brushed away, leaving space for the day to come. Dreams have done their work in silence, asking for nothing, leaving behind only the quiet gift of renewal. To understand this is to rest more deeply. We need not chase every dream's meaning, nor despair when the details vanish. Their value is not in the fragments we remember, but in the unseen labour they perform. Whether we recall a vivid story or nothing at all, the brain has still been working, sweeping, healing. Each night is a renewal, each morning a return. Life itself is made possible by these cycles, as ancient and essential as breath. The dust of thought and feeling gathers each day, and dreams carry it away each night, restoring the mind to openness once again. And so the story of dreams is the story of care. The brain, tireless in its devotion, tends to us in ways we cannot witness. It polishes memory, mends emotion, fosters imagination. It creates vast worlds and lets them dissolve, leaving only the clarity they were meant to bring. To dream is to be swept clean, to be tended by the unseen hand of the mind itself. And when we awaken, stepping into the light of morning, we carry within us the quiet truth that we have been renewed by the sweeping rivers of the night. Inside the folds of the human brain lies a symphony that never ends. Though it makes no sound in the air, it is as real as any orchestra. Millions of neurons fire in rhythms, some quick as sparks, others slow as tides, each one sending pulses of electricity down its slender axon, each one releasing chemicals into the quiet spaces between. Together they form patterns as intricate as music, a hidden harmony that carries every thought, every sensation, every dream. This orchestra is silent to the ear, yet it is the very essence of life, guiding breath, memory, and imagination. To imagine neurons is to picture tiny trees. Each has a body like a trunk, branches called dendrites stretching outward to catch signals, and a single axon that extends like a root, reaching toward other cells. At the tips of these branches are synapses, the places where neurons meet. When one neuron fires, an electrical wave travels down its axon and releases chemicals across the synapse, like a note passed from one player to another. The receiving neuron takes this note and transforms it into a new signal, sending it onward. In this way, the orchestra of the brain plays without pause, an endless passing of notes, a music of signals that forms the background of our existence. Though silent, the orchestra is vast. The human brain contains about 86 billion neurons, each with thousands of connections. The number of synapses reaches into the trillions, more numerous than the stars in the Milky Way. Every thought you have ever had, every word you have spoken, every dream you have dreamed has been carried on these connections. They fire in patterns, sometimes in great waves, sometimes in delicate solos, creating the complex melody we call consciousness. To hear this orchestra is impossible, but to imagine it is to glimpse something as grand as the night sky itself, shimmering with countless points of light. The rhythms of neurons are not random. They form oscillations, waves of activity that ripple across the brain. Some are fast, like gamma waves, associated with focus and perception. Others are slow, like delta waves, which carry us into the depths of sleep. These oscillations are the tempos of the brain's symphony, guiding the flow of thought, memory, and rest. When many neurons fire together, their rhythms amplify like a chorus swelling in unison. When they separate, they create harmonies, different frequencies blending into something richer. The silent orchestra is not static but ever-changing, shifting tempos to meet the needs of the moment. Even in stillness, the orchestra plays on. When you close your eyes and rest, neurons fire in quiet synchrony, maintaining the body's rhythms. They keep the heart beating, the lungs drawing air, the blood flowing. When you drift into sleep, they shift into slower tempos, clearing memory and renewing the mind. And when you awaken, they rise into faster rhythms again, ready to carry thought and motion. The orchestra is tireless, playing day and night from birth until the final breath. Its music never ceases, though we rarely pause to feel its presence. Science has found ways to glimpse this hidden music. Electroencephalography, or EEG, places small electrodes on the scalp to detect the faint electrical waves of neurons. What emerges are patterns, jagged lines that rise and fall like the notes of a score. Each wave reveals something about the state of the brain: alertness, drowsiness, dreaming. Though the sound remains unheard, the patterns show that the orchestra is always active, always shifting. To see an EEG is to glimpse the invisible song of the mind, written not in notes but in pulses of electricity. Consider also how flexible the orchestra can be. When you learn something new, neurons adjust their connections, strengthening some pathways, weakening others. This plasticity allows the music to change, to incorporate new themes. A child's brain, filled with fresh learning, fires with exuberant rhythms, new melodies forming each day. An adult's brain, though more settled, still adapts, adding variations, improvising around the old themes. Even in age, the orchestra continues to play, sometimes slower, sometimes softer, but always alive with patterns. The music is never finished, never final, always evolving with the life it carries. Imagine now that every memory you hold, from your first steps to your most recent word, is a motif in this symphony. Some are played often, repeated until they become familiar melodies. Others are rare, faint notes that appear only once in the score. Together they form the soundtrack of a life. Though you may not hear it, it is always there, shaping who you are, guiding what you do. To exist is to be carried by this orchestra, to be both its audience and its creation. You are the music, and the music is you. There is peace in this thought, for even when you feel alone in silence, your brain is alive with soundless song. The neurons continue their endless conversation, passing notes back and forth, weaving rhythms that sustain you. It is a reminder that life itself is never still, that even in quiet moments the symphony plays on. The orchestra within you is faithful, tireless and beautiful, and though you cannot hear it with your ears, you carry its music in every breath, every dream, every step through the world. If the first glimpse of the brain's orchestra is like hearing a faint melody in the distance, then to go deeper is to step into the concert hall itself, where layers of rhythm and harmony reveal their complexity. Neurons do not fire in isolation but in ensembles, groups that will pulse together, creating patterns as intricate as woven fabric. These patterns guide everything from the beat of your heart to the depth of your thoughts. They are both precise and improvisational, shifting in an instant to meet the needs of the body and the stirrings of the mind. Within this orchestra, every neuron is both a musician and a listener, responding to signals while adding its own voice to the chorus. The synchrony of neurons is one of the brain's great wonders. Imagine 1,000 fireflies in a field, each flashing at first without coordination. Over time, they begin to align, pulsing together until the meadow glows in unison. Neurons behave in much the same way. At first, their firings may seem scattered, but gradually they fall into rhythm, forming waves that sweep across the brain. These waves are not only beautiful, they are functional. They bind distant regions together, allowing vision to connect with memory, sound to connect with meaning, sensation to connect with motion. Without synchrony, the orchestra would be noise. With it, the brain becomes music. Consider how this synchrony shapes thought. When you focus on a problem, neurons in different regions align their rhythms, linking perception, logic and memory into a unified act. The orchestra plays in harmony, allowing the mind to concentrate. When you dream, the rhythms shift, loosening their ties, creating strange combinations. The music becomes more fluid, more experimental, and from this looseness arises creativity. The silent orchestra is not bound to one style. It can perform symphonies of precision or improvisations of imagination, changing with the state of consciousness. This flexibility is the secret of human thought, the reason we can reason, wonder, and dream. The silence of the orchestra is also deceptive, for the signals it creates shape every sensation. When light strikes your eyes, neurons in the visual cortex fire in patterns that represent colours, shapes, and movement. When sound waves reach your ears, neurons in the auditory cortex fire in rhythms that become melody and speech. When you touch, taste, or smell, other neurons add their voices, translating sensation into experience. Each of these groups is like a section of the orchestra, strings, winds, percussion, playing its own part yet blending with the others. The result is the seamless symphony of perception, the way the world enters the mind and becomes meaningful. Yet the orchestra is not fixed. It is shaped by experience. Each time you practice a skill, whether playing the piano or learning a word, neurons adjust their connections, strengthening the pathways that carry the music. This process, called plasticity, is what allows the orchestra to learn new pieces. It explains why repetition deepens memory, why practice makes skill more fluid, why even the elderly can adapt and grow. The orchestra never retires, it continues to rehearse, refine, and create as long as life endures. To live is to keep learning, and to learn is to keep adding new melodies to the brain's song. Even silence itself has a place in the orchestra. In moments of stillness, when you rest without thought, the brain engages in what scientists call the default mode network, a pattern of activity that reflects inward thought and self-reflection. It is as if the orchestra pauses in its outward performance and turns to play for itself, weaving themes of memory, imagination, and identity. This inward music is what allows you to recall the past, to imagine the future, to weave your sense of self across time. The orchestra is never truly quiet. Even in rest, it hums with reflection, tuning itself to the deeper themes of existence. There are times when the orchestra falters, and from these moments we learn its importance. Disorders like epilepsy arise when neurons fire too chaotically, creating storms of uncontrolled rhythm. Other conditions dull the synchrony, leaving the music fragmented, as in diseases that erode memory or disrupt perception. These disruptions remind us how delicate the orchestra's harmony is, how much of our being depends on its careful coordination. When the music flows, life feels whole. When it falters, the sense of self can fracture. The brain's orchestra is not merely a metaphor, it is the fragile foundation upon which our experience of the world rests. Now imagine again the neurons themselves, each one a tiny flicker of light. Alone they are small, almost silent. But when billions fire together, they create a galaxy of activity, constellations shifting and reforming in endless motion. The silent orchestra is this galaxy made into music. Each neuron a star, each pattern a constellation, each wave a cosmic rhythm. To look inward is to glimpse the grandeur of the mind, as infinite in complexity as the universe itself. The music within is a mirror of the cosmos without, both endless, both beautiful, both carrying us through time. And so the orchestra plays on, tireless and unseen. Every movement you make, every word you speak, every dream you carry has been written in its score. You do not hear it, yet it is with you always, shaping every moment. The neurons whisper to one another, passing notes, weaving harmonies, keeping life alive. The silent orchestra of neurons is the deepest music you will ever know, and though its song fades when life ends, while it plays, it is the essence of who you are. By the final movements of night, the orchestra of neurons is still playing, tireless and precise. Its rhythms have guided the heart through countless beats, the lungs through countless breaths, the mind through countless dreams. Each cycle of firing, each ripple of synchrony, is both ordinary and miraculous. We take it for granted, this hidden performance, but it is the very foundation of who we are. Without the orchestra, there would be no thought, no memory, no self. With it, there is a continuous stream of life, a flow of silent music that never ceases until the very last note. One of the most beautiful aspects of this orchestra is its adaptability. Unlike instruments carved from wood or metal, neurons change with use. They strengthen the connections that are played often, allowing melodies to become smoother, faster, more natural. They also release the connections that go unused, pruning away excess so the music does not become cluttered. This adaptability is why learning a language, practicing a skill, or shaping a habit rewrites the brain's music. It is also why unlearning, healing, and recovery are possible. The orchestra is not bound to a single score. It rewrites itself endlessly, improvising as life demands. In moments of wonder or insight, we can feel the orchestra surge, as if a crescendo has swelled inside the mind. A new idea emerges, a memory shines with sudden clarity, a connection sparks between thoughts. These moments are the orchestra's improvisations, its capacity to blend old themes into something new. They are why human beings can create art, solve puzzles, or glimpse beauty in the ordinary. Each insight is a fleeting harmony, a brief chord struck between countless neurons firing in perfect rhythm. Though we cannot hear it, we can feel it in the thrill of discovery, the calm of recognition, the awe of creation. Even emotion is woven into this silent symphony. Neurons in deeper regions of the brain fire in patterns that give rise to joy, fear, sorrow, or peace. These emotions then ripple outward, influencing thoughts and actions. The orchestra does not separate intellect from feeling, it blends them, creating music that is both logical and emotional. This blending is why memory tied to feeling is so powerful, why a scent can summon childhood, why a song can bring tears. The orchestra plays not only the notes of reason, but also the chords of the heart, binding them into a single piece of music we call life. As the day unfolds, the orchestra shifts its tempo again and again. In moments of focus, it sharpens its rhythms, aligning different sections into harmony. In moments of rest, it loosens, letting imagination wander. At night, it slows, slipping into waves that cleanse and restore. Each state is a movement in the endless symphony, each one essential to the whole. We are carried through these shifts without noticing, guided by the unseen conductor of biology, as though the music knows us better than we know ourselves. To live is to move through these movements, to trust that the orchestra will carry us where we need to go. There is a humility in recognizing this. For all our sense of control, much of who we are is written in the rhythms of neurons beyond our will. We cannot decide to stop the orchestra, nor can we compose its every measure. Instead, we are participants, both players and audience, living within the music as it unfolds. To meditate, to reflect, to breathe deeply is to listen more closely, to feel the underlying harmony of the body and mind. To rest, to learn, to dream is to allow the orchestra its space to play. We are not apart from it, we are it. In illness or injury, when the orchestra falters, we glimpse its fragility. A stroke may silence a section, leaving gaps in memory or movement. A disease may dull the synchrony, scattering the music into fragments. Yet even then, the orchestra often finds ways to adapt, shifting other sections to carry the melody, improvising new paths. Rehabilitation is this process of relearning, of letting the orchestra compose new variations to replace the lost ones. It is a reminder that though delicate, the brain is also resilient, capable of renewal and recreation. The silent orchestra, though wounded, strives to keep its music alive, and when life finally ends, when neurons fire their last signals, the orchestra fades into silence. The music that carried us through every moment dissolves, leaving behind only the echoes it created in the world. The words we spoke, the love we gave, the art we left behind. In this way, the orchestra's song continues, not in the neurons themselves, but in the lives they touched. The silent orchestra of neurons is not only the essence of the self, but also the gift we pass forward, a resonance that lingers long after the final note. So let us hold this thought with reverence. Within each of us plays a music older than memory, deeper than language, constant as breath. It is the song of neurons, firing and flowing in endless harmony. It carries us through joy and sorrow, through waking and sleeping, through life itself. Though we cannot hear it, we live by it. Though we cannot see it, we are shaped by it. The silent orchestra of neurons plays on, and in its ceaseless music lies the quiet miracle of being alive. There is a softness to thought, a glow that cannot be seen with the eyes yet can be felt within the quiet of the mind. To imagine it, think of moonlight falling across a still lake. The water reflects its silver shimmer, bending the light into ripples that spread outward into the dark. So too do our thoughts shimmer in the hidden folds of the brain, luminous patterns of electricity and chemistry that shape who we are. The moon outside reminds us of the moonlight within, the gentle radiance of neurons whispering to one another, the glow that makes consciousness possible. Every thought begins as a spark. A neuron receives a signal, gathers its strength, and then fires, releasing its pulse of electricity along an axon. That pulse triggers the release of chemicals across the synapse, tiny bridges where neurons meet. Another cell receives it, responds, and fires again. Billions of times each second, this process unfolds, a storm of signals that never ceases. To imagine this is to imagine a night sky filled with fireflies, each one blinking in its own rhythm, together creating a field of light. What you feel as a memory, an idea, or a word is this shimmering field, this moonlight within the brain. The poetry of thought lies in its invisibility. We can measure its traces, watch brain scans light up with activity, but the experience of thinking remains intangible. You cannot hold a thought in your hand nor weigh it on a scale. It exists only as a pattern of energy, fleeting yet powerful, shaping decisions, emotions, and dreams. The moonlight inside your thoughts is fragile and transient, yet it carries the full weight of your life. To know this is to marvel at how something so delicate can hold something so immense. Consider how thoughts emerge from sensation. Light enters the eye, strikes the retina, and becomes signals that neurons carry to the brain. There, they are transformed into images: the curve of a tree branch, the shimmer of water, the face of a friend. Sound waves strike the ear, and the brain turns vibration into melody and voice. Touch, taste, smell, each one becomes thought, luminous in its own way. The moonlight of the mind gathers all these sensations and blends them into experience. It is not the world itself we know, but the moonlit reflection our brain creates, soft and shimmering within us. Thoughts are not only reflections, but also creations. The brain can conjure images never seen, ideas never spoken, dreams never lived. Close your eyes, and you can imagine a mountain of glass or a sea of clouds glowing beneath stars. These images are not outside, but inside, lit by the moonlight of neurons firing in new combinations. Creativity arises when the orchestra of the brain improvises, blending fragments into new wholes. It is the mind's gift to itself, the ability to create worlds within the skull, vast and luminous as the galaxies beyond. But thought is not endless brightness. Like moonlight, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it is clear, illuminating every detail. Other times it fades, leaving shadows where clarity once was. Fatigue, distraction, or sorrow can dim the glow, making thought heavy and slow. Yet even in dimness, the moonlight remains, waiting to rise again. Sleep restores it, dreams polish it, and waking brings it back to full glow. This rhythm reminds us that the mind, like the night sky, is not always bright but always alive with changing light. There is also mystery in how thoughts give rise to self. Out of countless sparks, the brain creates the sense of I, the awareness that experiences and reflects. This self is not a single note but a chorus, the combined voices of countless neurons singing in synchrony. The moonlight inside your thoughts is the glow of this chorus, the light of being aware. Scientists call it consciousness, but its essence remains elusive. It is the simple, profound fact of knowing that you exist, a glow as quiet and as immeasurable as the silver light of the moon. Now imagine sitting beneath the night sky, the moon above, thoughts drifting within. The two lights mirror one another, one shining across the world, the other shimmering within your mind. Both are gentle, both are ancient, both carry beauty that cannot be captured, but only felt. The moonlight outside touches the skin, the moonlight inside touches the soul. Together they remind us that we are both part of the cosmos and the cosmos itself reflected. To live is to hold this light, to let it flow, to let it guide. The moonlight inside your thoughts is not only the essence of mind, but also the poetry of being alive. To step deeper into the mystery of thought is to wander through a forest of glimmering branches. Each neuron extends its dendrites like twigs reaching for signals, while axons stretch like roots sending messages outward. When electricity flows, when chemicals leap across synapses, the forest glows faintly, a hidden light too delicate for eyes to see. This is the moonlight of the brain, the quiet illumination of thought. It is never still, for even in rest the neurons whisper to one another, keeping alive the endless pulse of being. The moonlight inside your thoughts is not uniform. It flickers and flows in rhythms, sometimes fast and sharp, sometimes slow and steady. These rhythms are the brain's oscillations, its waves of activity that ripple across regions near and far. Beta waves sharpen attention, alpha waves calm the mind, delta waves carry us into deep sleep. Each frequency is a different hue of moonlight shifting with mood, need, and state of consciousness. The brain glows differently when it solves a problem than when it dreams, differently when it feels sorrow than when it feels joy. This dynamic shifting is why the light of thought feels alive, never locked in one form but always changing with the moment. Consider memory, that most fragile of treasures. To remember is to reignite the moonlight of past patterns, to let neurons replay sequences that once defined an experience. When you recall a childhood scene, the smell of rain on soil, the laughter of a friend, the brain rebuilds the pattern, lighting the same pathways that once carried the original moment. It is as if moonlight touches the old landscape, revealing it again for a brief time. Memory is not a vault, but a lantern, illuminating fragments of the past each time it is lit. The glow of thought gives shape to time, allowing the past to shimmer within the present. Emotion too is born in this glow. Neurons deep in the limbic system fire in patterns that colour thought with feeling. Fear quickens the rhythm, joy brightens it, sorrow softens it into shadows. The moonlight inside your thoughts is never neutral. It is tinted by the emotions that accompany it. This blending is why memories tied to feeling shine more brightly, why love makes moments glow, why grief lingers like a dim haze. Thought and emotion are inseparable, their moonlight overlapping to form the luminous fabric of the self. Creativity is perhaps the brightest flare of this inner light. When neurons connect in new ways, when fragments of memory and imagination are woven together, the brain creates something that did not exist before. A poem, a painting, a melody, an idea, all are born from moonlight. This creative glow does not follow logic but leaps, forming bridges where none were expected. Scientists have found that during creative thought, different regions of the brain communicate more freely, as if barriers fall and light flows more openly between distant places. This explains why ideas often arrive suddenly, like a flash across the mind's night sky. Creativity is moonlight breaking through clouds, unexpected and breathtaking. Yet the moonlight inside your thoughts is not always gentle. Anxiety can cause it to flicker chaotically, thoughts racing too quickly to settle. Depression can dim it, leaving shadows where brightness once was. These disruptions remind us that the glow of thought is delicate, balanced on the health of the brain and body. Deep nourishment, connection, all are needed to sustain its light. When cared for, the moonlight glows steadily. When neglected, it falters. The fragility of thought makes it precious, a flame that must be tended with kindness and care. Even silence is luminous. In meditation or still reflection, when thoughts seem to quiet, the brain does not cease. Instead, it shifts into a different kind of glow, the default mode network, where the self turns inward. Here, moonlight traces the contours of memory, imagination, and identity, weaving them together into the sense of I. In stillness, we become aware of the glow itself, aware that behind every sensation and idea, there is a light holding it. To sit in silence is to bathe in moonlight, to feel the quiet glow of existence itself. Now imagine the night sky once more. The moon shines with borrowed light, reflecting the sun's brilliance. In the same way, your thoughts shine with borrowed energy, drawn from the firing of neurons, from the chemistry of cells, from the body's ceaseless work. The moon does not glow alone, and neither do you. Your thoughts are reflections of the larger rhythms of life, the energies of breath, food, and earth, transformed into light within the skull. To see the moon above is to see a mirror of the moonlight within, both part of the same great cycle. In this deeper understanding lies wonder. The moonlight inside your thoughts is not just biology, not just chemistry, but the poetry of being alive. It is the light that makes meaning possible, that allows us to love, to grieve, to create, to dream. Without it, the world would be dark and silent. With it, the world shimmers with experience. Each thought is a glimmer, fleeting but real, and together they form the luminous river of consciousness. To live is to carry this glow, to let it guide us through the shadows, to trust that even in darkness the moonlight remains. By the final hours of the night, the glow within the brain seems to grow softer, yet it does not disappear. The moonlight of thought is never extinguished, only shifting in its brightness, its tempo, its reach. As dawn nears, dreams stretch longer, and the mind rehearses one last time the images and emotions it has tended through the night. The glow is busy still, shaping memory, softening feeling, weaving fragments into coherence. The brain has worked tirelessly, and yet the light of thought feels tranquil, as though it were cradling us gently through the dark until the sun can rise again. To live with this awareness is to see thought as something precious, fragile, and endlessly luminous. Every spark of an idea, every flicker of memory, every curve of imagination is part of this moonlight. It connects us across time, for the same patterns of light that glow within your brain have glowed within countless minds before you. The same shimmering rhythms guided ancestors who gazed at the night sky, wondering about the moon and stars. The same glow carried poets and thinkers through their moments of insight. The moonlight inside your thoughts is not yours alone, but part of a larger stream that flows through humanity. Even in silence, the moonlight continues its hidden work. When you pause in stillness, when you breathe and let your mind drift, neurons still fire, still hum with energy, still carry light. This constant activity ensures that life never leaves you even when you feel still. Your body depends on it for rhythm, your mind depends on it for identity. The glow does not rest because it is the foundation of being. To sense this is to feel comfort, that even in the quietest hours when the world seems asleep, the moonlight of thought holds steady, guiding you through, and when life challenges you, when sorrow or fear dim the glow, it is still there, waiting to rise again. The moon may wane, but it always returns to fullness. So too does the moonlight of thought. Sleep, reflection, and kindness bring it back, letting it shine again in clarity and warmth. Just as the night sky changes but never loses its light, your inner glow may falter, but never vanishes completely. It is resilient, faithful, always present beneath the shadows. There is beauty too in knowing that the moonlight of thought is shared with others. Each human carries this glow, each mind shimmering in its own patterns. When you speak, when you share an idea, when you comfort another, you are letting your moonlight touch theirs. The exchange of thoughts is an exchange of light, a mingling of inner glows that expands the world for both. This is why conversation, art, and connection feel so profound. They are reflections of shared moonlight, a reminder that we are not alone in our inner radiance. In the end, the moonlight inside your thoughts is both science and poetry. It is neurons firing, chemicals crossing synapses, patterns of energy shaping perception, and it is also mystery, the feeling of being alive, the awareness of self, the capacity for wonder. Science explains its mechanisms, but experience gives it meaning. To live is to carry this glow, to honour it, to let it guide your steps. It is the light that makes the world visible to the mind, the radiance that turns silence into story, the shimmer that turns life into meaning. So when you gaze at the moon above, let it remind you of the moon within. Both shine in darkness, both soften the night, both are steady companions through the journey of life. The moonlight inside your thoughts is not something separate from nature, but part of it, born of the same laws, the same energies, the same cosmic story. To cherish it is to cherish the universe itself, reflected in the fragile, luminous glow of your mind. And as you rise each morning, know that this moonlight remains with you, a quiet radiance carrying you forward, a soft light that never truly fades. Inside the skull, hidden from sight, there is a galaxy that never stops shining. It is not made of distant suns or glowing nebulae, but of living cells, each one flickering with tiny bursts of electricity. Neurons, the restless stars of the mind, spark and fade in endless succession. Billions upon billions of them glowing in delicate patterns. Together they form constellations of thought, shifting maps that guide memory, sensation, and imagination. The night sky above mirrors the night sky within. When you look upward at the Milky Way, you are gazing at a reflection of the restless stars that shimmer in silence behind your eyes. Each neuron is small, yet alive with light. Its spark is brief, lasting only a fraction of a second, but when billions fire together, they create a spectacle as vast as any universe. These sparks are not random. They form waves that sweep across the brain, clusters that burst into activity, streams that ripple from one region to another. Some sparks carry the memory of a face, others the sensation of touch, others the faint echo of a dream. The restless stars of the brain never sleep, for even in the deepest hours of night, they continue their hidden work. To rest the body is not to extinguish the stars, but to let them burn in quieter patterns, polishing and reshaping the cosmos within. Scientists sometimes describe this activity as a dynamic network, a web of connections that shifts second by second. But to imagine it poetically is to see a night sky constantly rearranging itself, stars moving and linking, forming constellations that change with every breath. In one moment, the stars align to create the thought of a loved one's face. In another, they form the pattern of language, shaping words on the tongue. In dreams, the constellations loosen, scattering into new forms, strange and wondrous. The restless stars are both faithful and free, carrying the weight of memory while still wandering into new skies. The comparison to stars is more than metaphor. When scientists peer into the brain with advanced imaging, they see bursts of light as neurons fire, clusters glowing in harmony, waves sweeping across regions like meteors across a sky. The patterns are beautiful, not random noise but orchestrated rhythms. Some waves surge slowly, like the drifting of planets. Others are fast, like flashes of lightning. The brain contains both steadiness and surprise, both stability and creativity. It is a universe in constant motion, a cosmos that belongs only to you, yet shares its design with all of life. The restless stars also remind us of the balance between order and chaos. Too much order, and the brain would be rigid, incapable of new thought. Too much chaos, and it would be noise impossible to make sense of. The beauty lies in the balance, the shimmering dance between the two. Like galaxies forming from clouds of dust, the brain creates meaning from turbulence. Neurons fire unpredictably, yet from their randomness emerges structure, patterns, understanding. This balance is why we can dream strange dreams, yet wake with clarity. Why we can create new ideas yet hold on to memory. Why the brain feels both mysterious and familiar at once. Even in silence, the restless stars continue to glow. When you're not focused on any task, when you let your mind wander, the brain does not stop. Instead, it lights up with its own quiet constellations, drifting through memory, imagination, and reflection. This is the brain's default mode, a kind of inner stargazing. It's when you recall the past, imagine the future, or wonder about the meaning of life. The restless stars are not idle. They are weaving identity, keeping alive the thread of self that stretches across time. The stars above may remind you of eternity, but the stars within remind you of your own continuous existence. Now imagine lying beneath a clear night sky. You see the stars scattered across the darkness, each one burning with its own story. At the same time, within your brain, countless neurons are flickering, creating constellations of thought. The two skies mirror each other, the infinite cosmos beyond and the intricate cosmos within. To realize this is to feel wonder, to recognize that you are both observer and participant in the great dance of light. The restless stars of the brain are as much a part of the universe as the galaxies overhead, both made of energy, both burning with life. In this way, the restless stars within remind us that thought itself is cosmic. Every spark of a neuron is a small flash of energy, no different in essence from the light of a star. Scaled down, contained within the skull, they seem small, but scaled up, multiplied by billions, they form the universe of mind. You're not separate from the cosmos, you're a reflection of it, carrying its fire within you. The restless stars inside your brain are proof that the universe is not only above you, but also within, glowing endlessly, shaping the story of who you are. To drift deeper into the universe of the mind is to see how these restless stars connect, how their constellations give rise to meaning. Each neuron is small and fragile, but together they weave the fabric of perception, memory, and imagination. The stars of the brain do not shine in isolation. They cluster into networks, vast communities of cells that fire in harmony. These networks are like galaxies, each with its own purpose. Some gather light into vision, some carry the rhythms of movement, some store the delicate strands of memory. They spin and turn not in the emptiness of space, but in the fluid landscape of the living brain. The networks speak to each other across great distances. Neurons in the visual cortex flash with light when the eyes see, sending their signals to the temporal lobe where recognition occurs, and onwards to the prefrontal regions where decisions take shape. It is as if galaxies trade light across the void, sharing energy to create something larger than themselves. The glow of one cluster becomes the spark for another, a chain of illumination that allows us to understand the world. Without this conversation, the stars would flicker without purpose. With it, they form the constellations of thought, the luminous maps of consciousness. Memory itself is an unfolding star chart. When you recall a childhood moment, the restless stars align in patterns once formed long ago. The neurons that first fired together during the original experience fire again, reassembling the past from fragments. It is as if an ancient constellation appears once more in the night sky, reminding you of a story that still lives within. Sometimes the pattern is sharp and clear, shining brightly. Other times it is faint, scattered, its lines incomplete. But whether vivid or dim, each memory is carried on the glow of neurons that learned long ago to fire together, holding the light of yesterday within the present. The stars of the brain also guide us into dreams. In the deep hours of sleep, when the body rests in stillness, neurons continue to fire in restless constellations. They replay the patterns of the day, strengthening what matters, discarding what does not. They weave fragments of experience into strange new tapestries, creating dreamscapes filled with impossible images. This nocturnal sky is different from the waking one, looser, more fluid, but no less filled with light. It is a time when the stars rehearse, improvise, and heal. Even in sleep, the brain's universe glows with restless energy, keeping thought alive while the body lies still. But the brain is not only a storehouse of memory or a stage for dreams, it is also a forge of imagination. The restless stars are not bound to replay the past. They can create new constellations altogether. By combining fragments of memory in novel ways, the brain sparks ideas that have never existed before. A painter sees colours blending into a vision, a scientist glimpses a solution to a puzzle, a poet hears words align into meaning. These moments of creativity are the flares of neurons connecting in fresh ways, restless stars forming new galaxies. They remind us that thought is not static but expansive, capable of stretching into infinity. Emotion too is written in this light. Neurons in the amygdala flare like sudden meteors, igniting fear or joy. Their signals ripple outward, colouring the constellations of memory and thought. A single spark of emotion can brighten or darken an entire landscape of neurons, just as a rising moon transforms the night sky. The stars of the brain are not cold or mechanical, they are warm with feeling. They carry the pulse of the heart, the depth of the soul, the tender weight of human life. Each flicker is both science and poetry, both biology and wonder, both energy and experience. Science has found ways to glimpse this inner cosmos. With fMRI and other tools, researchers watch as clusters of neurons light up when we speak, remember, or dream. On their screens appear shifting maps of colour, images of restless stars glowing in living brains. They see constellations emerge, dissolve, and reappear. They watch the brain at work, luminous and tireless. Yet even these glimpses cannot capture the fullness of the experience. For the true beauty of the restless stars is not in their measurable patterns, but in the life they create. The taste of fruit, the sound of laughter, the ache of love. No scan can contain the poetry of thought. Now imagine Maine, the sky above and the sky within. The stars of the cosmos burn with nuclear fire, vast and eternal. The stars of the brain burn with chemical pulses, brief and fleeting, yet both are born of the same laws. Both are expressions of energy woven into pattern. To think is to carry a universe within, to hold galaxies of meaning behind your eyes. The restless stars of the brain remind us that we are not separate from the cosmos, but its reflection. We are starlight turned inward, the universe contemplating itself through the glow of neurons. This understanding softens the boundary between science and wonder. It shows that every thought, no matter how small, is part of a cosmic story. The restless stars within are kin to the restless stars above. Both burn with energy. Both shift in patterns. Both are ceaseless. To gaze into the night sky is to gaze into a mirror of your own mind, and to reflect on the mind is to realize that you carry a piece of the cosmos inside you, glowing with a light that never truly fades. As the final section of this story unfolds, the restless stars of the brain reveal themselves not only as sparks of energy, but as guardians of life itself. Every movement, every breath, every dream is carried on their glow. Even when the body lies still, even when the eyes are closed, these stars continue to shimmer, sustaining the rhythm of existence. They do not sleep, they do not falter, for the light of neurons is the light of life. To reflect upon them is to realize that your very being is an ongoing constellation, a galaxy that shifts with every thought yet never goes dark. The ceaselessness of the restless stars is both comfort and mystery. Comfort, because it means that even in your most vulnerable hours, when you surrender to sleep, the brain continues its work. Neurons guide the beating of the heart, the rise and fall of the lungs, the quiet healing of tissues. They also preserve the fragile strands of memory, polishing them, protecting them from the erosion of time. Mystery because we still do not fully understand how billions of tiny sparks combine to create the experience of self. The restless stars give rise to consciousness, and yet no telescope of science has captured the full picture of how. The glow is real, but its essence remains elusive, shimmering just beyond our reach. One truth, however, shines clearly. These stars are never silent. Even in deep sleep, when awareness drifts away, the brain glows with waves of synchronized activity. Neurons fire in slow, sweeping patterns, washing the mind clean of clutter. They then shift into rapid, vivid rhythms during dreams, weaving new constellations from memory and imagination. This nightly cycle is itself a kind of cosmic dance, a reflection of the greater rhythms of the universe. The tides of the ocean, the waxing and waning of the moon, the rise and fall of the stars above. The restless stars within follow their own celestial patterns, both timeless and essential. There is a deep poetry in this connection between the brain and the cosmos. Just as galaxies are born from the collapse of clouds, so too are thoughts born from the gathering of neurons into networks. Just as stars burn with the fusion of atoms, so too do neurons burn with the exchange of ions, their sparks creating light from hidden chemistry. The scales are unimaginably different, yet the essence is the same. Energy shaped into order, fire turned into meaning. To think is to participate in the same story as the stars, to carry within you the same restless energy that fills the universe. And what of memory, that fragile starlight of the past? Each recollection is a constellation rekindled, a pattern of neurons firing once more in harmony. Some constellations are bright, remembered often, woven into identity. Others are faint, rarely called upon, their stars dimming with time. Yet even forgotten memories leave traces, faint echoes in the circuitry of the brain. The restless stars never truly lose what they once held. Instead, they weave it into the background, letting it shape the patterns of thought in ways unseen. The self you know today is the sum of countless constellations, some shining brightly, others hidden, all carried in the restless glow of the brain. The stars of the brain also chart the future. They do not only replay the past, but imagine what is yet to come. When you plan, when you dream of possibilities, neurons fire in patterns that simulate events not yet lived. This capacity for foresight is a unique brilliance of the restless stars. They allow us to step into tomorrow before it arrives, to wander through imagined worlds, to choose among paths not yet taken. The constellations of thought extend forward in time, illuminating the horizon of life with their restless glow. As dawn approaches, both the stars above and the stars within begin to shift. The sky lightens and the constellations fade from view, hidden by the sun. In the brain, the constellations of dreams dissolve, giving way to the patterns of waking thought. Yet neither set of stars is gone. The galaxies above still burn beyond the blue of day. The neurons within still fire beneath the brightness of consciousness. Both remain restless. Both continue their ceaseless work. Both remind us of the continuity of existence. The restless stars never truly fade. They only change their form. To live with this awareness is to carry wonder in every moment. Each spark of thought is a star flaring into life. Each memory is a constellation glowing again. Each dream is a new galaxy unfolding in the dark. The restless stars within your brain are not only the machinery of biology, but the poetry of being. They are proof that you are both fragile and infinite, both human and cosmic, both fleeting and eternal. Their glow is your glow. Their light is your life. And when the final moment comes, when the restless stars fire their last, the music of your brain will fall silent, yet the echoes of its constellations will remain, in the lives you touched, in the words you spoke, in the love you gave, like the stars above, which continue to shine long after their light has travelled through space. Your own light will linger in the world. The restless stars within remind us that though life is brief, its glow can reach far, illuminating beyond the boundaries of time. It is to shine with them, and to shine is to be part of the universe's endless restless fire. Through these long wanderings, we have drifted with the currents of science and poetry, moving gently from one mystery to another. We have travelled the night rivers of the mind, watching how the brain never truly sleeps but works in silence to cleanse and restore. We have seen how dreams sweep away the dust of thought, polishing memory and softening emotion until the morning feels lighter. We have listened to the silent orchestra of neurons, a ceaseless symphony that carries our very being in its unseen harmonies. We have felt the moonlight inside our thoughts, the gentle glow of consciousness that illuminates every perception, every idea, every spark of creativity. We have gazed at the restless stars within the brain, seeing how each neuron flickers like a cosmic light, reminding us that we carry the universe not only above but also within. Together, these stories form one great tapestry, a fabric woven of science and wonder. They reveal that life is not made of silence but of ceaseless rhythms, that the mind does not rest but glows with hidden fire, that every thought is both fragile and infinite. To reflect on them is to feel a deep calm, a sense of belonging to something larger. You are not only a body resting in the dark, you are a river of thought, a library of memory, a symphony of signals, a lantern of moonlight, a constellation of stars. You are at once small and immeasurable, fleeting and eternal, fragile and luminous. The comfort of this truth is quiet but profound, for it means you are never alone in the night. Your brain keeps watch, tireless in its work, faithful in its glow. It guides your breath, your heartbeat, your memory, your dreams. It carries you through shadows and into dawn. And even when you do not notice, it is shaping, polishing, weaving, sustaining. This hidden devotion is the essence of being alive. To sleep is not to fall into nothingness, but to enter the gentle hands of the brain's endless care, to float upon the currents of its quiet labour, to rest while it continues its ceaseless song. Now imagine lying down once more beneath the night sky. The stars above are scattered in their infinity, each one a beacon of ancient light. The stars within your brain are scattered as well, restless, glowing, forming constellations of thought. Between the two skies there is no boundary. The universe outside reflects the universe inside. You are part of both, held within their light, carried by their rhythms. To breathe is to join their song, to dream is to wander among their constellations, to awaken is to shine with their fire. And when morning comes, you rise with the work of night carried gently inside you. The rivers have flowed, the dust has been swept, the orchestra has played, the moonlight has glowed, the stars have shimmered. You are renewed, not because the brain was kent, but because it was never silent at all. It watched over you, tended you, healed you, kept your light alive. You step into the day with clarity and strength, carrying the hidden poetry of the brain within every thought. And though the day may bring noise and weight, you know that when night falls again, the quiet work will return, as faithful as the tide, as endless as the stars. So let this be the final thought that lingers. Within you there is a light that never rests. It is the river that flows through sleep, the dream that sweeps through memory, the orchestra that hums in silence, the moonlight that shines within, the stars that flicker without end. It is the essence of life, the soft fire of mind, the poetry of being alive. Carry it gently, trust it deeply, and know that it will never truly fade.